Hey everyone, I'm Renita Young, and this is Your Money Story on Wednesday, 4/20/2022. Thank you for joining me here. Now, listen, today we are talking about an important topic. We always talk about how we need to spring clean, right? Our closets, maybe our shoes, maybe even our homes, right? But do you ever think about spring cleaning your budget? Well, listen, today I have Marcus Garrett coming on the Marcus Garrett, and he's going to help you spring clean your budget. So hang on for a moment and let me grab Marcus. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you today, Marcus?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Love the background with the microphone. It deserves a round of applause.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, you're joining us from Houston. And folks, just so you know, Marcus is the author of Debt Free or Die Trying. It's the story of how he buried himself. Where is it? You got it somewhere? Yep. How he buried himself in $30,000 of debt and dug his way out on your own, really. And so, listen, you're in Houston now, but what I find interesting about your story is that your parents practiced FIRE, financial independent, retire early,
Right.
and they didn't really even know that at the time, right? So how was it like growing up in the Garrett household? What was your relationship like with money growing up?
So I'll explain that a little bit. My folks both retired, I think, in their 50s. They're like my executive producers now, so they correct all my facts and send me like these factual errors. They're like, actually, we were 52. So I think they're in their 50s. But what I mean by that is we actually didn't talk about money in the house. Once again, that's a factual error that my mom's probably going to correct. But I don't particularly remember talking about money. It was
Okay.
like, this is our money, and then you got McDonald's money or whatever you do with your thing. And so
Okay.
it created a lot of independence for me, but it's like they were really good with managing money, but we didn't talk about it. If that makes sense. So I benefited from their good money management, but we didn't have discussions about it. Like I really like the personal finance community and how open it is now.
Absolutely. I have to agree with that. And I feel like parents in who were considered part of baby boomer, you know, era may not have talked about money openly. That's what I consistently hear from kids of boomers. Very few have parents who actually talked about it. But listen, at some point, and we have to go through this just because you wrote a whole book on it, right?
Okay.
At some point, you found yourself in $30,000 of debt, right? Give us the briefer on how you got into debt in the first place, because it may not maybe it might be how people think, but I feel like it's some nuances that people can learn from.
It's not how people think. I'll give the snippet, the bumper sticker, if you will. I graduated school with $9,000 in debt. About 90% of my school was paid for. So, like I said, again, one of those positive money things. My parents had a similar 529 plan in Texas. They have a Texas Tomorrow Fund that they used to do. It actually went bankrupt, but that being said,
Yikes.
they invested in it before it went bankrupt. So it paid for 90% of my public schooling. But like many millennials, I fell victim to walking through the yard. There's a table with T-shirts and hats. I got a yo-yo and I got 3 credit cards. Charged $9,000 in debt to those credit cards before I graduated, buying Lord knows what. I couldn't tell you, I can't remember. But when I graduated, I got an offer for one low monthly payment consolidation loan, and I didn't even know what a consolidation loan was at the time. Sent
Mm-hmm.
off for what would have been about a $10,000 consolidation loan. 22, never made more than $9 an hour. They mailed me a blank check, and I was like, ball out season. So I went out, bought everything. I bought everything but paying off those credit cards.
Wow.
And
As a 22-year-old might
yeah,
do,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
right?
Because
So you
in
weren't
my
out of the
mind,
woods.
right, in my mind, I just graduated. I got a degree in business, so I'm about to business my way up to being 6, 7 figures. This little $10,000, it's just a little stepping stone for me.
Okay.
Bought a car for $13,000 used car.
Okay.
No negotiation. I'm like that one. I got
Oh, we thought we knew
$10,000.
everything back
Yeah,
then.
yeah. $10,000 in my bank account right now.
Oh my
So
gosh.
flash forward, $23,000 overnight. It's actually 26,000 because I bought a flat screen TV for $3,000.
Because they were that expensive back then, right? I mean, sure, there are some as expensive now, but how big was the TV?
TV was 40 inches.
Wow.
I,
Yeah.
I have a 70-inch TV now, and it was 30. It was like $300. So
Yeah.
it's
I've seen
age and
those sales
perspective,
around Super
inflation,
Bowl time. I
right, et
saw
cetera,
those
et cetera.
sales.
So
Right.
that's
Okay.
how I got $30,000 in debt.
Okay. So, folks, you heard how Marcus got into debt, right? And so the story of how you got out of debt is very inspiring, right? And so I know a little bit of this story you go into in the book, but give us the highlights of how you were able to dig yourself out of debt.
Name drop Jonathan. See you in the chat. Thank you for the love.
I see,
Uh,
Jonathan. Hey.
I got out of debt, and so a lot of people might be, oh, you're 22, 30,000. That's not bad. Actually, it took 4 more years before I like finally learned the lesson. I call it rock bottom in the book, and I think a lot of people get there. I had someone ask me recently, like, when did you know it? It's probably an aha moment. And actually, no, it comes like a tsunami because I was making minimum payments. I was working by this point, 27. I was working 3 jobs, still not making six figures, by the way, which I thought I was going to be making at 22.
Wow.
I'm not even making
Okay.
half of six figures, by the way. I'm working
Okay.
3 jobs, and I remember that year I booked 70,000. I remember it distinctly because I told my ex girlfriend. She thought I was lying. She's like, "You ain't make no 70,000."
Here are my
I was like,
receipts. Yes, I
"Yeah,
did.
here's my tax statement." No, I didn't tell her I had to work 3 jobs to do it, but that being said.
Right.
And so rock bottom was I'm making minimum payments, and I missed one payment. It was a Discover card. I remember these events in my life, and I was like, you know what? I've been rocking with Discover since they gave me that yo-yo. I'm just gonna call them up. We're gonna work this out. It ain't nothing. I was like, yo, Discover card. Y'all talking about 29% interest? I ain't got it. What are we gonna do
Mm-mm.
about it? And they're like, you gonna pay us our money? And I was
Yep.
like, cancel the card, close the card. So I like did everything wrong. I messed up my utilization. I messed up my credit score that day because I was going to teach Discover Card a lesson. I failed, but at that moment, I realized like I can't even make the minimum payment anymore. I need to make a change in my life, and I need to make some responsible and take accountability and make some changes. And now I didn't know at that time, I was starting to write the debt free story, debt free or die trying. And that
Mm-hmm.
night, I pulled up a plan to get out of debt. Still available. I went to bankrate.com. I went to Yahoo to find it. That's one difference.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot.
Okay.
I went to Yahoo. I was like, how do you get out of debt? And they were like,
Okay.
bankrate.com. If you go to bankrate.com/calculators today, you can still put a debt free plan together. And that's when I started writing Debt Free or Die Trying.
Very good. So that was when the shift happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing you did. You calculated, I guess, how much debt you had and
Yeah.
your interest rates and how long it may take to pay it off, right? And so you guys make sure you do go to Marcus's page to read more on Debt Free or Die Trying and get the book because it has a very practical strategy for it, right? But I got a question for you though. When we were talking before this, you said you don't need a budget. Can you please explain what you're talking about? Because from what I hear all the time, I need a budget. But what are you talking about, Marcus?
Controversy sales. But what I mean by that, so I'm an auditor by profession. I've been in audit for
Mm-hmm.
15 years. I call myself a recovering auditor. I've been trying to get out the profession for at least 5 years.
Okay.
And that's one thing I talk about. They keep giving me a raise, the golden handcuffs. And
Mm-hmm.
so I increased my salary over 400%, and that's what happened at age 27. I sat down, and like you said, I put together a plan. And I remember on that phone call where I wasn't getting any debt, those were the questions he was asking me. He was like, what's your credit score? I was like, I don't know. It's like, how much total
Mm-hmm.
debt do you have? I was like, I have no idea. And I couldn't answer basic financial literacy questions. And, frankly, I felt like an idiot. And I was like, I will never be in this position again, feeling dumb and begging someone for money. This will
Yeah.
never happen in my life again. So what I talk about a lot, and you can get that plan for folks that are interested. It's available for free at dmarcusgarrett.com/debt-free, is how to build your salary. And really, when people come to me for a budget, I do coaching now. Like I actually don't care. I set that aside. Very few people need a budget because they're not going to follow it. It's like a New Year's
Mm,
resolution. 80% of people are
huh,
falling off of the New Year's resolution by
okay.
February. So what I asked them, I'm like, actually, and I'm walking through my community with this right now, is tell me your dream. Tell me your dream. In one sentence, tell me your dream.
Hmm.
Because that's what's going to ground you, not the budget. Like a budget is exhausting. Like if
Okay.
your dream is, so I said my dream this year, going through the pandemic and everything, is I wanted to be happy. And a lot of people were like, that's simple. Like, are you unhappy? It's not that I'm unhappy. I'm more or less content. And
Okay.
then week two is to break that into 5 goals. What 5 goals would make you happy? Most people can't answer that question because they've never done it. They can't come up with
Hmm.
5 things that would make them happy. And for me, I started reflecting on what are my happiest days. And I
Okay.
noticed thematically, I wasn't at work. Usually I was on vacation. Usually I'm having my happiest day on
Hmm.
vacation, away
Interesting.
from work. Yeah. And I was like, why am I spending 5 days over here and 2 days in my happy place? Like, I need to
Hmm.
reverse this formula. And
Yep.
so when I talk to people about that, like, let's build your dream, they're excited about that. That's something they can stick to
Hmm.
for 12 months. If I say, let's build your budget, I might not hear from them again. So I usually say, let's set this budget aside, tell me your dream, and let's work backwards.
I love that idea, because it gets people to get even more skin in the game. Like there's a literal dream on the line if I spend that extra $100 on those shoes.
Right.
I mean, maybe you just budget it in or dream it in, but I love that perspective of it because it really does touch home. Okay, so that's what you mean by you don't need a budget.
Mhm.
And so you talked a little bit about your free budget template that's available for subscribers of your newsletter, right? And so what it really helps people find out is like, where's my money going, correct?
Right. So I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite. I do have a budget template. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Everything that I'm talking about, I give away for free.
Hmm.
And the reason I give it away for free is because I typically know people aren't going to stick to that anyway. And then I was like, okay, now let's talk about your dream. So you probably follow that budget for 4 weeks. Most people can do it for a month. By month two, they're like, it's not fun. This is not
Mm,
exciting. And to
okay.
your point and your question, if it's like, you told me your dream was, using my example, was to be happy. So did going to that mimosas on Sunday or buying the shoes, that was short term, but it's not, is it building towards your happiness? Now, if the answer to that is yes, it makes me very happy. Having a closet full of shoes is the happiest I've ever been. Then we can build a budget around that. Like you said, you can build that in. The one that
Hmm.
helped me get out of debt was a 50-30-20 budget. So 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and investing. And I actually came to that realization. That's why they say mentoring, coaching, and teaching actually makes you a better teacher in person. I was working with someone, and I was like, "Oh, more money, more money," and they were like, I don't care to make more money." I, I had to stop the coaching session because I thought everyone was motivated by money because I was
Okay.
projecting I'm motivated by money. And they're like, money's nice, but I would rather have these things even if it means less money. And I had to like restructure my whole framework in coaching. And really
Mm.
the lesson for me is to stop projecting onto the individual. Let me talk to you once again. That's why I asked, like, what's your dream? Not what's Marcus's dream, and then let me tell you a prescription for it. What's
Right.
your dream? And let's build a plan. That's what I think my strength is. I am an auditor. Let's build a plan, a system, and KPIs, key performance indicators around
Hmm.
helping you achieve your dreams. It's not about me.
That's a great way to look at it as well. And also using those auditing skills. You are a certified internal auditor, correct?
I am,
So a recovering one, by the way.
regrettably.
And so in that as well, you stress the importance of automating, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the importance of automating. Is it truly possible to automate 100% of your budget?
The answer is yes. It's difficult because, I'll use myself as an example. So,
Hmm.
sounds like a hypocrite, but everything I do is automated. But I personally don't trust companies, so I don't set up
Mm.
automated payments. I still physically go in. Like all of my fiance stuff is automated. Like all of her stuff is on the. She gets paid on
Okay.
the first, on the second, it's all paid. I don't trust people like that, because to get in, it's like, click here. To get out, they're like, send your firstborn child, your DNA
Right.
sample, your
Right.
COVID,
Draw
your
some
two
blood.
COVID
We need
tests.
your left lung. Right.
So I was like, nah, I will physically log in. So those things aren't automated, but like my investments are automated. Like things that I trust and I can generally control and I can physically see are automated. And the example I would use, I believe right now I have 7 accounts. Now it's going to be difficult for me to walk through, but they all serve a purpose. I know 4 of them are
Okay.
my business accounts. 2 is my basic checking and savings. Actually, it's 8. I have a high yield savings account because that's where my
Okay.
emergency fund is. And then I have my investment account. So that's number 8.
Okay.
And I set it up like that. Like that's overwhelming for some people. That works for me because I know what the purpose of each of those accounts are. And I
Okay.
got that from, it started at least with the book Profit First. And I was like, okay, this makes sense to me. And each account has a purpose. So I have my operating expense, I have my income, I have my profit. I even have taxes. I was very happy. I'm going to have a tax bill
Very
because,
good.
yeah, and it's gonna be hefty. And like, it's very tempting because I see how much money is in that tax account. I was like, man,
Yeah.
I could buy a lot of cars with this.
Right.
But,
But
you
you
know,
know better now.
got to stay disciplined. It's literally labeled tax. And so, okay, I
Yeah.
can't touch the tax account. And so that system worked for me because that is a personal plan that I built for myself. So, somebody else, they might just need 1 or 2 accounts and they could set up and
Hmm.
they can automate all those payments.
Right. I personally have three. Um, and it works for me. I have two checking and one savings. And so, but I've actually been thinking about, and then my investment account as well, but I've actually been thinking about adding on to that for other specific reasons as well, for other future reasons. So I can see how you can get up to 8 actually. Very, very interesting. Fixing Your Finances says she does the same. She does not give them access. She logs into her account and sets up automatic payments herself. My only automatic payment that I don't deal with at all that goes automatically is for my housing every month. That's the only thing. Like I have a couple others that do go, but I set up the other automatic payments as well. So I totally understand. The other one is just the one that I don't touch. Okay. All right. So one other thing that I want to ask you about as well, you mentioned a key word. You said discipline, right? And so many people, most people in the world, period, are just not disciplined when it comes to their finances. How can we channel the discipline that we have going to work every day, right? That's the one that I always use for myself when I'm like, you got to work out this week at least 3 times. Well, you can get up and go to work every day. That means you can at least do some. So how do you channel that discipline into your finances? Like, how do you get your clients to do that?
Well, I'll answer it 2 ways, and you're giving a great example. Number one, I did not realize when I started that that is a natural strength of mine because I've probably been programmed and indoctrinated by my parents. Dad has a background in psychology, and he has a master's in sociology, and he's a professor. So I've been lectured
Oh,
all
they
my life.
got you real
So
good.
yeah, so I've been lectured since I was this big, and I didn't realize until I grew up. I was like, "Well, and by the way, I lecture people. And they're like, oh, what's the background here?" My mom's a registered nurse, so there's that. I was indoctrinated but what I would tell people is, number one, I recommend people hire where they're weak or outsource where they're weak is the first response, and then I do think it can be learned and strengthened, like you said, like a muscle. So for example, I'm an introvert by nature. I got a podcast and a business. People are like, I speak and people are like, but
Yeah.
when I get home, like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me for.
Hmm. Also,
So
you're
I had to,
speaking to a microphone, not a crowd of people.
yeah,
So I get it.
right.
I
Really,
get
I'm just talking to one
it.
person. So it's actually very simple. And so I do think that discipline can be strengthened like a muscle if it's something that you want to work on. You just need to work it out. And so, to your point, I'll use the workout example. Like during the pandemic, I was like, I need to work out more. I was getting a little pandemic weight like everybody else. At least I
Hmm.
say like everybody else, so I feel better. And I was
You're
literally
right.
sitting there one day. I think I had my hand on my much larger stomach, and I was like, I need to do something about this because I had stopped going to the gym.
Okay.
And yeah, and so actually, credit to her, the fiance kind of heard me talking about that. She got me an Oculus, and I was like, okay, I've been talking about boxing for years or whatever, big
Okay.
workout. And so now I have no excuse, and I do it 3 times a week. I love it.
Good.
I'm fighting virtual boxers
Good.
all over the country. Now I ain't been in nobody's gym in like 12 months, but I still was losing weight and I'm building up cardio. So once again, I
Right.
literally found a solution. I had already identified the problem, a little bit opposite than a goal, but that's usually where
Hmm.
your goals come from. And it's like, okay, now what solution can I find that I can do without excuse? Literally, in this case, working out a muscle. So as far as discipline goes, I do think it is a skill that can be learned and improved upon, especially once I said, I'm gonna be thematic here, once it's tied to your goal. Because it's really
Yep.
easy to continue to get excited about it and get that endorphin hit. Like I'm doing this for my goal. I got a wedding coming up, so I didn't want to be up there with my
Yeah.
beer belly in front of all my family and friends. They're like,
It's
man,
tied
man,
to a goal.
Marcus really,
Exactly.
he let himself go since he got in that relationship. Like, so I'm motivated. You know?
No, 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 no. I am sure it's going to be just fine. You're going to keep going on with the boxing, with the Oculus, and good. But no, that's something that people struggle with, discipline. I'll just share this just because I thought of it. When I am lacking discipline, I try to get discipline in small places, just little teeny weeny places, right? Like, all right, Renita, you are sitting down doing this work. You're not going to get up and get a snack for an hour. You know, like honestly, that's how I have to do with myself sometimes. Just start really small. Or all right, you're going to sit down here and you're going to do this for, 2 hours, and then you'll move on to the next thing. But I totally understand. I totally get it. All right, folks. So we're almost wrapping up here, people. Marcus, this has been a great conversation so far, and I love your energy too, introvert. I think you're an extroverted introvert, an ambivert. But what are some of the favorite tools that you use for automating and for making your budget work?
So again, I'm still old school. I still use Mint, not paid by Mint.
Okay.
But because once again, it solves my problem. And I organized it, probably need to go in and update it, but I organized it to that 50-30-20 budget. And I'm just kind of fortunately at a point where I just need to check in because most of it's automated now. I know where all the money's
Mm-hmm.
going. I've been doing kind of this space for 10 years. So I really don't need to look at budgeting as much. The way I described it recently is I'm at a point where I don't really need to, a privileged point where I don't really need to think about money. Like,
Nice.
as long as I'm gainfully employed.
Right.
But
Still
even
have
if
income coming.
yeah, even if I use that example, if I wasn't gainfully employed because of these other side hustles and business I do, I'd
Mm-hmm.
still be fine. That's the point that I'm at. But I want to, my next happiness level is where I don't have to worry about money. And the example I give is I was with my folks and we were on a road trip and I was like talking about this truck I wanted. I had no reason to get it. I'm from Texas. I wanted on like jacked up, 20. And I wanted to like be over my head. I got to jump and climb in. And
Yeah.
my dad I was like, yeah, one day. And my dad was like, he's 70 now. And he was like, you know what? It'd be nice if you could just go, I want that one. Instead of one day, like pull the car
That
over,
one.
I want it today. And
Yeah.
follow me home because I'm going to go buy this car. And that's what they call as far as 10x in your goals. And so as far as
Mm.
automation tools, I'm using Mint. Like I said, Bankrate's not necessarily an automated tool. And I use, going back to what I said it, people agree. I use automatic payments. I just don't set it up so they draft it out automatically. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a personal state. Like in my mind, one day they're gonna go in there, they're gonna draft it wrong, they're gonna move a comma over,
Just take everything.
and I know they're gonna take 10 to 15 business days to get my money back. It's gonna take them 10 seconds to take it, and I'll be like, hey,
Right.
you messed up. They be like, hey, well, we'll
At
get it
least
back
it's
to you
insured
eventually.
by the FDIC, and you know
Exactly.
that,
So
right?
yeah, mostly I would say keep the process simple. You don't need to overcomplicate it. I have 3 of the banks that I'm actually using. All of them have automatic payments. So
Okay.
at this point, we've kind of technology has caught up, and so it's building the system that works for you.
Okay. Absolutely. And don't be afraid to try these things out, guys, and rule out what does not work for you, because otherwise, how else will you find out? And I know you had some time doing that as well. And so, all right, I know I said we're almost done, but I need to ask if you are willing to answer. Totally a curveball here. What
Uh-oh.
are your streams of income? I didn't ask how much you make, but what
Okay.
are your different streams of income? Because a lot of people who watch this show are side hustlers. They're trying to reach a certain goal, and they understand that one stream of income is just not going to cut it anymore. So what are your different streams?
I can tell you because it's on this whiteboard behind this light. I wasn't ready for this, so I got to move
Woohoo!
around this light. So
Okay.
I do affiliates and referrals. So to break those up, I use those terms purposely. So affiliate is when I work with a company. I'm affiliate of Amazon. I'm affiliate of a couple courses for course creators. That's just a direct payment. I sell a course, I get a percentage of it. A referral might be, let's say I have a real estate agent and I have someone who takes a real estate course. They come to me. I don't teach real estate. But I have this real estate agent. You should work with them. Someone buys a house from them. We have an agreement in place. I get 10 or would be 10. They get 10%. Maybe I get 1% or 2% referral fee. That's a
Mm-hmm.
simple referral. I have courses right now. I had like 6 courses and I felt like I was a little too stretched. So now I just do office hours. So basically, every month you get a tailored course. So you have a question. I have 6,000 people on my community newsletter. I was like, what are your questions this month? Come to this
Mm-hmm.
office hour and I answer them. I'll do all the research for you. I'll give you a calls to action sheet. So you don't have to do any work. You just show up and get the answer. Because what I
Okay.
realize is a lot of people don't have time and they don't have
Right.
time to take a course. I've got 60 minutes and I need the answer right now. I was like, okay, I'll answer that for you in 30 minutes. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
have more questions, we can have an Ask Me Anything. Of course, I have books. I have 3 books. I do freelance writing, although I don't do that as much. My 2 main, I would say right now, especially coming back out of the pandemic, is going to be speakers and brand partnerships. And to
Mm-hmm.
answer the affiliates, I have 26 affiliate partners. And so, what I tell people, as far as that are not entrepreneurs, if you like steady paychecks, this is not for you. And
Yeah.
I have a quick story. I lost $40,000 last week.
Woo! How did you do that?
I lost 2 contracts. Very simply, actually, I didn't do anything. I was sitting there, and I got an
Oh,
email that said, and that's how entrepreneurship goes. I got an email that
yeah.
said this contract is coming to an end. I was like, okay, that was about 12,000, and I got
Okay.
another email. I mean, I'm not waving off 12,000, but I was like, okay, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. And I got
Okay.
another email. They're like, this contract's coming to an end. And I'm talking about for the year. And I was like, so 40,000 in the same week was gone.
Wow.
I like to say that I was cool, calm, and collected, but
Okay.
I was like, I'm gonna go broke tomorrow.
No, you're not. You have an emergency fund. You know how to
Exactly.
generate more money. So then speaking as an entrepreneur, then you're probably thinking of other ways to generate more income all the time,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I went through that flight or flight. I was flighting. And so
Yeah.
it took me about 3 days to calm down and look at my accounts, my 7 accounts, and be like, oh, okay, actually, this sucks. I'm not
Okay.
waving off losing $40,000. But I was like, all right, Marcus, I actually inversed it. I was like, I made $40,000 before, and I will
Mhm.
make $40,000 again.
Exactly.
And then I finally calmed myself down and went to sleep. And like you said, I just had to come up with a plan and a system, which I do for a living, to make my
Hmm.
next 40,000.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so, so, so much, Marcus. Guys, if you want to learn more about Marcus Garrett, the Marcus Garrett, he is universally branded as the Marcus Garrett across all social platforms, including including LinkedIn. And his book is Debt Free or Die Trying, how he got into $30,000 of debt and dug his way out. Make sure you hop on over to Marcus's page, as well as find out more about the monthly office hours and the newsletter. I have to say, I get the newsletter. It is very informative, and you find out a whole lot of information about personal finance, as well as other personal finance creators in the community as well. Us in the community, we kind of lift up each other's work. And so that's what I love, that this community is so collaborative. So thank you for joining me. And folks, you guys make sure you tune in next week for another episode of Your Money Story. Marcus, have a lovely day. Enjoy the sunshine in Texas.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.